So check this out. I have an absolute game changer in technology here for the battle rifle space, the DMR space. That's going to be the Maztech Fire Control System, which mounts my LPVO, paired with the Maztech X4 Laser Rangefinder or weapon-mounted laser rangefinder. Now what this package is going to allow me to do is look downrange, point at it with my reticle, blaze that target to get a good distance on it, 660 yards. Then you can see it gives me a hold point down below, and it takes into consideration environmentals, the wind I have plugged in, and should allow us to make first round impacts. Impact. You can't tell me that is not awesome and a game changer for the battle rifle space. If you want to learn more about this setup, stick around because we're going to take a deep dive into what this unit is and the performance that I get day and night out to 1,000 yards. Just like the thumbnail said, this is an absolute game changer when it comes to long range shooting, especially in the space of, say, battle rifles, DMRs. You saw there, so simple to laze that target, pull in your environmentals, load the wind, get a hold point, and put rounds down range and connect with no problems. If you're familiar with long range shooting, you know what a challenge that can be historically. Some kind of calculator, some kind of weather station, wind meter, laser rangefinder, all separate devices that have to work together to give you that solution. It's time consuming and it takes knowledge of the process and expertise and how to use each of those to be effective. You look at this setup right here, it integrates all of that into one simple solution. It is absolutely nuts. I'm actually shocked at how cool it is and how well it works. This is my third night out on the range with this fire control system in the LRF, so I've got a number of rounds through it now. What I plan to do in this video is just give you a quick look at setting it up, say at 100 yards, making sure it's configured to your rifle, nothing super in-depth. Then we're going to move out and shoot steel with it at distance. I'm going to show you the performance that I get out to at least 1,000 yards on the 16-inch 308. We're going to move closer and engage some targets at closer ranges. We'll look through the features that are found in this unit. And then when night falls, I actually filmed a night piece last night, so I'm going to give you a look at how this unit pairs with a PVS 27. If you're interested in that, stick around because I tell you what, this unit is an absolute game changer, and I'm really excited to bring you a first look at the Maztech Fire Control System and X4 Laser Rangefinder. This is the 2K model. Now before we get into the weeds, I've got to ask for your help. So this is a first look at this product, brand new, very exciting. I'm able to bring this kind of content to you through support from each of you here on my channel, watching videos, sharing with your friends, and subscribing. That encourages me to pump out new content as I see those views grow and the subscriber count grow. I'm on a mission to get to 100,000, and if you're not subscribed, do me a solid and help me get there. But engaging with my channel also signals to these companies that are looking for ways to get their product in front of my audience that you value the information I'm putting out. So if you enjoy this content, do me a solid, hit that subscribe button so that I can keep bringing you super cool content just like that. So what are we going to do in the video? Well, my plan in this video, we're going to run through a kick gear review. I'll give you a look at the rifle we're shooting this on. This is a new rifle for the channel. I'll give you a little bit of information about the FCS and the laser rangefinder. Again, nothing super in-depth because I'm more into shooting it. Move down to the 100-yard line and give you a look at my process to zero up my LPVO, true up the FCS to get it in line with my zero up the laser rangefinder, get the ballistics data loaded, and then we're going to push out and engage steel at distance, day and night. So let's talk about the gear we're going to run in this video. Well, as I mentioned, this is a new rifle to the channel. This is an HK MR762A4. Been really excited to get my hands on this rifle. I actually was not going to film this video with this rifle, but due to a last-minute change of plans, here we are, first round through the MR762A4. I tell you what, initially, I'm very impressed with it. This is quite the upgrade from the previous MR762 you've seen on the channel. Much slimmer handguard. This thing, the lower pins, you can push them out without a tool, which is amazing. And it seems to be shooting quite nice. I like the adjustable gas block, even though with this low back pressure Knights Armor can, I'm actually just running it in the standard setting. I'm not in the suppressed setting. It didn't cycle perfectly in the suppressed setting, I guess, because it's so low back pressure. But more to come on the MR762 as I get more rounds on it. This, again, is just my third night out with it, and I needed a unit to shoot out the distance for this video. So The ammo we're going to be running, I got to give a shout out to Dylan for the 550 progressive press and Sierra for the 175 SMK bullets. As I mentioned, running this rifle was kind of a last minute change of plans, so I didn't have anything loaded up to shoot. So Sierra providing that 175 SMK, I was able to drop that into a hand load. That SMK, Sierra Match King, it shoots well in pretty much every rifle. You load it to mag length, you put some powder behind it, get it in the velocity range, and it's probably going to shoot decent. That's exactly what we're running here. It's just a generic load, something that I could use to shoot out to distance. And what you're going to see at the 100-yard line is shooting pretty well for a battle rifle or DMR. Now Dylan, they've come on board to help me out here on the channel, and the way they helped out is that 550 progressive press speeds up my reloading process so fast. So when I realized I had to shoot this rifle, I had really no time to load ammo. I already had brass prepped. I was able to crank out something like 150 rounds in just a matter of something like an hour. Running stay ball match powder, it meters quite well through that 550 powder dropper. And I tell you what, doing a mandrel through the neck, dropping powder, seating the bullet, so fast and simple. So that's what we're shooting. And what you're going to see at the 100-yard line, velocity performance is pretty acceptable. And then when we push out the distance, I'm going to have no problem. So thank you for Sierra sending the bullets and Dylan for the 550 progressive press. If you find yourself in the market for a Dylan product, make sure you're using my link in the campsite bio to learn more about their products. And that goes for all the products I'm going to run here on the channel. All my partner companies are listed in the campsite link. Their campsite bio, navigate down there. There's codes that'll help you out with discounts. And then some of them will actually provide a kickback for me here on the channel. So every little bit helps so I can keep pumping up this content. So thank you to all the partner companies and those of you that are engaging with them. Now let's talk about the Maztech product. So this is really the heart and soul of this video. So what I have here is the Maztech Fire Control System. That's going to mount up this Ride-On 1 to 10 LPVO. So the way this fire control system works, it's a mount with a heads-up display. You would drop your LPVO into this setup. So I just had a Ride-On. It's a 30mm setup. I happen to have it. I dropped it in, torqued it down per the specs. Now, the install process is so stinking simple. So all you do to install this thing, you actually drop the LPVO into the mount. You leave it loose so you can rotate it. You push it up against the heads-up display. So the LPVO is actually pushed up against the heads-up display. And then to level it, you actually just use the alignment reticle in the heads-up display. You don't need any kind of level on top of the turret and on the rail or under the rail. It's so simple. Now you'll notice it's a little bit tall. It's a 193 height. So there's actually a couple of batteries here underneath. And the batteries they send out are rechargeable. So I found that to be pretty cool. I think they're 18650s. They're rechargeable. But so far, I'm on the initial battery charge. I'm still full. So again, this is my third night out using it. And then up front, you're going to have the heads-up display. And this is where all the information is going to show up. So you're going to look through your LPVO just like you normally would. And in the heads-up display, you're going to see things such as the rifle you're shooting, the ammo and the load you're shooting. You're going to see your wind speed, wind direction. You're going to see rifle cant, left and right. And then once you range, it's going to give you a firing solution. So there's two ways to run this setup. Now, one way would be to run the fire control system by itself without the laser rangefinder. So what you would do in that situation, you would use some other range finding method to get a distance to your target. And then you would just roll the wheel right here, forward and back, to adjust the range and heads-up display. Click the center button to select it. Boom, now it's going to dial in the range that you dialed. The option that I have here is the Maztech X4 LRF, which pairs together. So with this, I'm able to use the weapon-mounted laser rangefinder, point at my target down range, hit the laser button, laser's going to get a perfect distance, integrate that into the system, and boom, give me a hold. Now the really interesting thing here on both of these units, again, the laser rangefinder is optional. Both of these have Applied Ballistics in them, so they're using Applied Ballistics as a solver. They both have onboard environmentals. So when you zero out, what you're going to do is actually go into the heads-up display of the FCS and click Lock Environmentals, and that's going to load in temperature, pressure, humidity, everything that you would need to know to compensate for a shot down range. Very simple process to get this thing zeroed up and get your environmentals pulled in. You really don't have to think about it other than wind. And all I'm doing for wind is just a cheap, I believe it's called a Caldwell Wind Wizard. I think it was 45 bucks at Shields. Hold that up into the wind, drop that into the app, which pairs to both units, and boom, you're good to go. If you're running the LRF up top, you actually can program the LRF separate from the FCS. So with the LRF up here, maybe you want to run a second profile for, maybe you're shooting a team competition and your partner's running a different rifle. You want his data up here. and yours in your LPVO, you could do that. Maybe you're running 2 different bullets in the same rifle, maybe 2 different profiles would be of value. But the way this pair works right now, the Laser Rangefinder is only providing the range. The FCS is doing all the calculations and compensations for the shot. So that is just an overview of the unit. Retail price on this FCS, I believe, is about $3,500. And this X4 2K LRF is about $2,200 retail. So it's not a cheap product, but what you're going to see in this video, it makes putting rounds on steel at distance so quick and easy. I am shocked. You have to provide your own 30mm LPVO. Now, there are a ton of other features in both units. Let me know in the comments down below if you want to see me do a video in the future that goes more in depth on either of these units or both of these units. But really what I want to do tonight in this video is just show you the performance out at distance. I want to share kind of my excitement and my experience with you, because I tell you what, so far I'm really excited about this. The other thing this is going to do, you'll see this later in the video, it actually automatically corrects for cant. So you're going to notice I'm not running any kind of level on the rifle. That's because it's in the FCS. It's actually going to adjust your firing solution if you cant the rifle. Wait until you see that footage coming up later. So with that, let's move down to the 100-yard line. I'll give you a quick look at what it takes to kind of configure this setup. And then we'll go out and start shooting steel out to distance. And then once night falls, we're going to put the PVS 27 on it, repeat it after dark. Then we're going to wrap up here at the end, and I'll give you a summary of my experience. Before we push out and shoot some long-range steel, there's a little bit of prep work we have to do to get the FCS and the Laser Rangefinder configured and set up properly for the rifle that you're going to run it on. Now, we're not going to get super in the weeds on what that process looks like, but I do want to give you an overview so that you have an idea. Now, the first thing that you're going to do, you're going to zero your LPVO just like you normally would. Turn off the FCS, fire rounds at your zero distance until you're confident in your zero. So for me, I'm here at the 100-yard line, and I went ahead and fired a 10-round group through the MR762. And what I find for that 10-round group landed in a 1.7 MOA group, which not spectacular, but remember, I just threw this load together kind of last minute, generic, seated the 175 SMK to mag length, put some powder behind it to get it in the velocity ballpark. And 1.7 MOA is very usable for a battle rifle like this that we're going to push out to distance. So I'm pretty happy with that zero. If you want to fine tune it, maybe bring it down a tenth, get your LPVO zeroed first. Now, while I was shooting, I was running that Garmin chronograph to get an average speed, and that landed at about 2440. So I'll keep that in mind here later on in the process. But zero out your LPVO. Then in the FCS, there's actually an alignment process. So we can go into the menu, and you're just going to want to make sure that the FCS is actually aligned to your reticle. So let me zoom in here a bit. Now you can see mine already is because I've got it set up. But basically, if I scroll this wheel, I can move that alignment left and right, something like that, and also up and down. Now the other cool thing is you can see in that alignment reticle that the reticle in my scope is perfectly horizontal. Makes mounting this thing so simple. You don't need a level on top, a level on the rail. You're able to level out the scope using the alignment tool in the FCS. So once I'm happy with that, just press and hold, and boom. Now you can see my 100-yard zero is pretty much perfect. So now you have the FCS aligned to your actual zero. Now if you have it paired with a weapon-mounted laser rangefinder, from here you're going to want to make sure that weapon-mounted laser rangefinder is zeroed to the reticle of the LPVO. And to do that, we're going to go over to the visible laser. We're going to turn it on. Okay, there I have my laser turned on. And you can see right now on the license plate, which is reflective, it's up at the 1 mil hash, which is a little bit high. I know this laser is 2.25 inches over center line of the scope. I know 1 mil at 100 yards is 3.6 inches. So I can do 2.25 divided by 3.6, and that gives me 0.625. So I need to zero my laser 0.6 mils above my 100-yard zero. So from here, I'm going to adjust down until I get there. One more. There we go. Now I really like that Maztech LRF because it actually has clicks in the adjustments. The other ones I've used are just mush, there's no clicks, so it makes it super simple. Now you can see on that license plate, I'm about 0.6 mils high. That means when I'm at 0, or 100 yard 0, I can point the reticle of my scope at the target and range it. So now my laser is zeroed up to my scope. Perfect. Now we'll turn that off. Now the next thing we need to do is make sure we have the proper bullet profile loaded into the FCS. So with this setup, the laser is only providing distance. Now you can actually program a separate profile into the laser, but for today, we're going to leave that be. We're only going to use this for distance. We're going to program in the FCS. Now a couple of things I can do. The first thing I'm actually going to do in the FCS before I load the profile, go into the menu, and I'm going to go and load in the current environment. So I go into the weapon, let me zoom out, make sure you can see that. Come down and capture environmentals for my current 0. There we go. Perfect. We'll save that. There we go. Now I'm going to go into the Maztech app, and let's just make sure that everything is set up correct. So MR762, it's going to load in the scope height over the bore. That has to be perfect. Also, we can actually go in and load specific bullets. Now, the app is really cool. So I'm going to go into where it says Sierra Match, hit the pencil. I could rename this to be 175 SMK at 2440 feet per second. There we go. Bullet diameter 308, length 175, drag curve custom. So the cool thing about the app, it already has profiles loaded for a very popular bullet. So I just loaded in the custom curve for the 175 SMK. Thing we got to make sure of is our velocity, 2440, which is correct. I think it was 2438, but we'll leave it at 2440. And then we click OK. And now we're good to go. Now, the next thing we want to do, you actually have a windage profile in here. And right now, it's almost dead calm. I mean, almost dead calm. I think I actually have my Caldwell wind meter. We'll turn it on here and see what we got. I mean, it's literally reading 0, not spinning. 0 air movement. So let's just go 0 mile an hour from the 12 o'clock. We'll reevaluate that when we get to our firing position. So now to confirm our data, we can look inside the FCS and you can see 0 mile an hour is loaded. If I go into that bullet profile, I should see 175 is loaded. So now I know the information that I loaded into the app is loaded into the FCS to take our shots out of distance. Now we can move back and start shooting some steel at distance. Well, let's see what this rig is made of. Now, my original thought for steel was to start up close and work my way out, but I figured, what the heck, we've got all the data in there. Let's just move back. We should be in the ballpark of about 1,000 yards here. Let's see if we can connect. So I put up a full-size IPSC downrange. I really feel like a rig like this, especially this kind of distance, is designed for IPSC-style torso targets. So that's what's up there. Now, I did notice while I was setting up my target, and now that I'm back here, I have about a 3 mile an hour wind from 3 o'clock. So I went ahead and programmed that into the FCS. So you're going to be seeing that in the heads-up display. That's going to be calculated into our firing solution. Now with that, all we're going to do, so I'm going to get down on the rifle. We're going to zoom in a bit here. And then I'm going to I'll actually use the button here. So I'm going to point my crosshair at the torso and laze the target. That's 1,072 yards. And what you're going to see, my firing solution is all the way down there, almost the tip of that black kind of arrow. And you can see it's telling me to favor just a bit to the right. That's going to be a little bit challenging, especially to spot our impact. So you can see the reticle clearly. I can see that torso very clearly. Let's just squeeze one off. Let me know in the comments. You think we'll make a first round impact? Got all the data plugged in. You can see my rifle's nice and level. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. Here we go. No joke. First round impact. 1,072 yards. That is wild. Impact on the second round. Third round, guys. Okay, that is just absolute nuts. We are hammering full-size zips that get 1,000. We haven't missed. Plugged in the wind, got the data. I'm actually shocked right now at how well that worked. Let's move up and just keep shooting it. That is wild. Well, why don't we move a little bit closer? Right now, I should be in the ballpark of like 800. So I'm gonna use the center of my LPVO and range. 860 yards, you can see my aiming point has adjusted. Now we'll go ahead and zoom in on that a bit. I have the same wind programmed in. What do you think? First round impact? I can tell you wind feels pretty consistent. Impact. Back. Back. The left edge. Back. All right, point proven. 860 yards. No problems. Let's move up a bit closer and try it. One of my favorite positions here off the rocks, kind of some natural terrain. And let's just see what we can do here. So once again, I'm just going to point at my target with my reticle. Lays that. 660 yards. You can see that adjusts my elevation and my hold. Now it's worth noting, when I got up here, I measured the wind at about a 5 mile an hour from about my 5 o'clock. So I've updated that in the FCS, and you will see that reflected in the HUD. What do you think? First round impact here? Yep. The right edge. Right edge. Okay, so you can see my windage is just a little bit. I'm basically dead on true for windage. So how about something crazy cool? So you see right now my rifle is not canted. But if I have really bad form and I can't, let's go 15 degrees to the left. Look at where my hold point is now. See how that adjusts for the cant? Let's see if we can connect right there. Impact. 15 degrees of cant. Impact. Let's go the other way. No, that is awkward. 15 degrees. 14 degrees to the right. Impact. That's our last round. Wow, guys, I am shocked by this rig. You got to let me know in the comments down below. What do you think about this? Where do you see this making sense? I tell you what, this is my third day on the range with it, and every time I use it, I become more and more impressed. So from here, a little bit of bonus footage. Let's go after dark. Let's see how it pairs up with a PVS 27 clip-on up front, and see what I can do downrange with a white Foss unit. So after that, we'll wrap up, and I'll give you my thoughts on running this unit. How about we do a little bit of work after dark? We've got almost a full moon. I think we're a day or two shy of it. And I've got a sick PVS 27 that the guys from See the Night sent me. This is a white Foss unit. And if you use my code MULLETS, you're going to save yourself $100. But with that, with a full moon night, we've got a lot of ambient light, so night vision. I think I can shoot without any kind of illuminator tonight. And I want to run the Maztech FCS through its paces with night vision. So let's take a look out there. Now you can see a couple of things to get ready to shoot after dark. I actually adjusted the screen layout to bring the information closer to the reticle so you can see it a little bit better. And then I think I'm actually going to go in and dim it up because it's just kind of bright. So let's go down here to the display and we'll bring brightness down. We're on level 5. Let's bring it down to like a 2. And the other thing I did with a new night vision unit, I want to check, it's called collimation, to make sure that the clip-on device doesn't change my zero. And at 100 yards, I just fired 5 rounds on a 2-inch black circle, and you can see my rounds landed maybe a minute up and a minute left. Minimal shift, nothing that I'm going to adjust for here with the night vision. So with that, Let's go ahead and see if we can put some rounds on our target out there. So I've got my 2 torsos, so I'm just going to point at, this is the full-size unit. There we go, 410 yards. You can see my revised aiming point. Now let's go ahead and see if we can connect. So wind right now is just pretty much straight in my face. So elevation, windage is dead on. Here we go. Impact. Let's try the 2/3. Impact. 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 There you have it. A couple of F6 at 410 yards. No problems. Let's keep pushing back further here after dark. I've moved back to my favorite rocks. Let's go ahead and range our full-size IPSC there. I'm pointed at it. I'll just hit my range button. 661 yards. You can see it's moved my point of aim down into the Christmas tree there. I feel like I have basically a straight up kind of 12 o'clock wind, which is what's programmed in. So let's just go kind of dead on here. Okay, that looked high and left. Now I'm going to use my grid. I'm right 1 mil, which is the impact. Impact. So my aiming point's pretty close there, the tip of that chevron, but I am right 1 mil. Now the interesting thing, I wasn't sure how I would like the grid reticle with the aiming point in the FCS. And I tell you what, I actually like it because now when I'm holding, I have reference points. So if you remember, when I checked my 100-yard zero with the PVS 27, my point of impact did push up and left about a minute. And that could be some of what we're seeing right there. So, and I'm tempted to push a little further. Kind of nuts, but how about we try that full-size IPSC out here? Should be in the ballpark at like 800. So the targets are just above my crosshairs. I'll put on the pointer so you can see it there pointing right at, looks like zeroed up still. Let's zoom in a bit. Yeah, still pretty zeroed up. So let's just go ahead and range our targets. So I'm going to point at them with the main crosshair on the LPVO. 830 yards. You can see my aiming point dropped. Now, it's telling me I need to hold left 0.1, but remember, we were a little bit high and right, or high and left. So I'm going to start elevation where I need to be. Let me see if I can focus that just a bit. That's about as good as we got right there. Something like that. And I'm going to start right that, say, half, and just see where we land. First round impact. That's cool. So, yes, I'm holding off of where the Maztech FCS is telling me, but that, I believe, is because the PVS 27 had a slight zero shift that we're making up for here. That is wild, guys. Look at that. Just can't miss. 830 yards. Man, I think this Maztech, this thing is legit. Range it, hold it. Let's yeah, look at that. Cool. Well, with that, let's go ahead and wrap up. There's 830 yards after dark. This PVS-27, by the way, no illuminator. This thing is crazy cool. Well, there you have it. A first look at the Maztech Fire Control System and the X4 2K LRF. I cannot wait to hear in the comments down below what you thought about the performance of this unit. I tell you what, it is absolutely nuts, kind of like I was saying there in the intro. So with that, let's just kind of run through my experience, and I'll chat about the things that come to mind that I like about this unit, and areas that maybe could be some opportunities for improvement or things to keep in mind if you're looking for a purchase. So the 100-yard line, you saw the MR762 shoot a 1.7 MOA group. And as I showed out the distance, that's just fine for shooting an IPSC torso type target out to 1,000 yards. Now, speaking of 1,000 yards, first round impact out there, that is nuts. So this thing pulled in the environmentals, you know, there at the 100-yard line, I locked in the temperature, the humidity. I got out there to 1,000 yards, made a slight windage correction. I believe it was like 3 miles an hour from 3 o'clock. We loaded that in through the app. Ranged it, adjusted my hold point, and sent that round and connected. I was skeptical until that actually happened. So you gotta let me know what you thought. That right there sells me on the unit. The fact that I just casually made a first round impact. Actually, also at 860 yards. We had multiple first round impacts out of this unit. But you know, the user interface, very simple on this unit. On the right hand side here, or on the left hand side, you have this scroll wheel in the menu button. I read through the manual when I got this all mounted up, so I use the manual as my guide. But I tell you what, it's very intuitive to run through this. It's really not that hard to navigate the menus. They make sense. There's enough words in there. There's also an app that pairs with it. So the user curve or the learning curve with this unit, aside from a little bit of studying to get it all mounted up and paired together, pretty simple. It actually was easier kind of than I expected. So the Laser Rangefinder up here, again, it's just providing the distance here, but I have played with it a little bit. The Laser Rangefinder actually does have that IR pointer that you saw there after dark. I understand they're looking at launching an IR illuminator down the road for this unit that'll kind of plug in right here. That's where my interest is at. So an IR pointer, when I shoot by myself, not a ton of value. The value to me is actually in an IR illuminator. So I cannot wait to see this LRF with the IR illuminator paired with it. Overall, I find the interface on the LRF quite easy to use. Again, it's very easy to see. Last night I had it dimmed down for shooting after dark. It wasn't too bright. Again, that IR illuminator seemed to be zeroed up with the visible laser pretty well. Worked well out to distance. The thing I did notice on both units, so I came back out today. So last night I dimmed down the Laser Rangefinder and the FCS. So come out today, full daylight, it was a little bit hard to see. I actually couldn't even see the FCS. I had to put my hand in front of the object to get it dark so that I could look in there and bring the brightness back up. So I did learn if you dim it down, you have to make sure you bring it back bright before you get out here in the sunlight, or else you won't be able to see at least the FCS. I could see the rangefinder, but it was dim. So overall, I'm impressed with the performance. It seems to work as advertised. It was easy to use. Understand this is an expensive solution, but if you're looking to put rounds on target quickly and easily, this seemed to do it for me. This seems to be a nice pair for a battle rifle. This is something I've been trying to figure out, is where this unit makes sense in the civilian world. So obviously you think about a military application, it's a no-brainer. You look down range, you see a target, you laze it, put rounds on it quickly and easily on a larger target. It works very well for that. In the civilian world, especially if you're using smaller targets, I'm not sure this is a great fit. So one of the negatives that I found about the unit is the aiming point in the heads-up display is a little bit large. It's a little bit coarse. You can literally see the pixels in the chevron there that you're aiming with. And I try to aim just with the very tip of that chevron. I found if you dim things down, it gives you a little bit more crisp aiming point. But in my experience, last night I actually tried to shoot on a 2/3 torso. And for me, that was just a little bit too small, especially when I got out here to about 600 yards to be able to see the target clearly, and then especially correct my misses. So the one drawback I find is it does seem very geared toward torsos or toward IPSC type targets. If that's what you're after with your DMR, your battle rifle, then I would say this is a great setup. You know, the other things that I noticed about it so far, battery life seems good. Again, this is only my third night out here. I do like that the batteries in each of these units that come from Maztech are rechargeable. I like that both of these units are American made. So Maztech, they are based in Montana, so not that far from me. Understand Maztech, basically they target military contracts. They've spent the last something like 30 years going after military contracts. So when you think about what this technology is, Should be pretty robust. And I tell you what, when I got this, I was nervous that it would feel kind of cheap or flimsy. And that's not the case. It seems very robust, especially this laser rangefinder, the mount and everything. And I'm guessing that comes from kind of their military pedigree. So overall, build quality seems good. There are remotes that you can pair with this to mount a remote on your rifle. I typically don't run remotes for a couple different reasons. But if you have this only on one rifle and it's going to stay there, then a remote might make sense for you. So in summary, I know we're kind of rambling here. My key takeaways for the unit, if I had to sum it all up, it was pretty easy to use. The learning curve was small. The ability to put rounds downrange effectively out to 1,000 yards day and night was there. It seemed to work as advertised. You gotta let me know in the comments down below what you want to see me do with this unit. So this is a loaner unit from Maztech. There's been no money exchanging hands. They sent me the FCS and the LRF on loan here for about 30 days. If you have other ideas for content, let me know, because so far I'm really impressed and I want to make sure I make the videos that you want to see. So with that, let's wrap up. Let me know what you thought. I had a ton of fun making this one. I hope you enjoyed the first look. Let me know what else you want to see. If you like this video, make sure you're subscribed and in line for that next video drop.